best movie quotes of all time comes from Tom Cruise and Jack Nicklaus. And in that, Tom Cruise says he believes in A Few Good Men. I think that was the movie, what it was called. Tell me in the chat if I'm wrong. But he felt like he was entitled to the truth. And Jack says, you can't handle the truth. The question that I ask all of you here tonight and anybody that will watch this show is that we're going to have a conversation. We are going to have to be truth tellers about what actually is going on. Band-Aid's got to get completely ripped off. And the question I ask you, are you ready for the truth? Are we ready to have the discussion that we have been somewhat having, at least here we've been having? Are you ready to talk about the truth? Are you ready to talk about just how putrid this offense is? Do you need to make a move to Michael Van Buren? So let me preface this by saying, tonight we're going to have an intervention. That intervention comes about LSU and not just about what's happening on offense. What do you need to do from a coaching perspective? What do you need to do from all these different perspectives on the field? Do you take this 2 weeks of practice and do everything humanly possible to make sure that you have the best starting 11 on the team offensively? That is the question that I ask you here tonight, because we have to have that intervention. Are players and coaches now in today's game held to a higher standard because of TV revenue money and massive contracts and massive buyouts? Do you talk about college players today like you did in the past? Oh, man, these kids are college players. You can't come down on them. Well, guys, I think there's got to be a little bit of a philosophy shift on that specific part because, guys, there are dudes making ridiculous amounts of money. Are you being held to a higher standard now when you're spending $18 to $20 million on a roster, not including TV revenue? I ask that question. Are you ready to have the conversation about Michael Van Buren? Now, I think that there's a lot of different things and a lot of very minute details that you and I need to discuss about. And in those minute and very specific details, is your quarterback hurt? Now, we can have the conversation about him being hurt. And for what it looks like he is. But is he hurt bad enough to where it's a detriment to your team? And another question that I have is, how is that affecting decision-making? And being 10 games in the SEC as a starter in total and having 15 interceptions, playing in 18 total SEC games in your, or 19 total SEC games in your career and having 18 interceptions is not going to cut it. It's just not going to cut it. So you get to a place, you get to a situation, are you there yet? And we are going to have that conversation here tonight. We are going to recap the Ole Miss game. We're going to spend a lot of time on this offense, and we got a lot of truth that you and I need to discuss. Now, after we talk about that truth, and in the postgame the other night, we did not do live call-ins because we did a 2+ hour show, and I didn't have a break. I sat here for 2 straight hours and had a conversation with you. Well, tonight, we are going to get to that and do some live call-ins. Nevertheless, we're live. Everyone do us a favor and hit the like and share. Every episode of AYS Sports is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. If you got the discretionary income, go over to FanDuel. It's very fun during these Saturdays and even Fridays. If you place bets on teams like Virginia to upset a team like Florida State, it's always fun to go and put some, as my good friend Bill King would say, some John Daly pizza money on some of these games. Let's go over there and have fun. If you don't have the discretionary income, then don't go do it. That's what I advise you. But what I do advise you is, if you do and you want to have some fun, let's go do it with our good friends over at FanDuel. Also, if you have any thoughts, questions, and concerns, go to FanDuel.com/RG for more details. It's FanDuel.com/RG for more and you can get all of that. Let's get to a couple of comments here. We already have 400 of them, so I guess that it's pretty warranted. Jamie Post from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, is now a new member on the YouTube channel. We had a lot of new members this weekend on the YouTube channel. We're probably going to have to start doing some members-only content, but thank you so much, Jamie, for becoming a member on the YouTube channel. Alexander Taylor says 31 rushing touchdowns in 2022. That's not true. Truth is, it's easy to run stunt against a quarterback that's not a threat. 31 touchdowns in 2022 is the truth. Let's go back and look at it because I counted it myself. LSU football stats 2022. All right. Here we go. So Jane Daniels had 11 of them. You had 10 from Armani Goodwin. You had 6 from Emory Jones. You had 6 from Josh Williams. You had 5 from Armani Goodwin. You had 1 from Derek Davis Jr., a DB. So you had 10, 16, 21, and then you had, I'm missing somebody. Where's Josh Williams? I'm completely missing Josh Williams. You're missing Josh Williams in here somewhere. So 10, 16, or 12, that's 22, 27. And then Josh Williams had 5. And Armani Goodwin had 5. No, yes, you did. Yeah, you did. Even if it's not, and Jane Daniels had 11, by the way. So even if it's not, you did run for 30 total. You were able to run the football. Guys, your 4th-string running back had 10 rushing touchdowns on the season. 10. So you were able to get some. Kaylee Como says, I am typically a silent viewer and never miss a show, but I need someone to explain to me why it's a tale of 2 seasons. Last season, he was a gunslinger, and now he can't throw barely at all. Well, first off, thank you for being a vocal person in the show, and thank you for always watching. So there's 2 schools of thought. Either number one, he's regressed and he didn't take the offseason seriously, and you're not calling the things that you need to call to help him, which I don't know if it's necessarily true completely, or he is really hurt. And again, Brian Kelly went to a podium and says, no, he's pretty much out of it. Well, if he's pretty much out of it, then the throws to Chris Hilton don't show that he's out of it. At least not to me. Dr. John Sibley Butler, who's a member on the YouTube channel, says, still believe in the Tigers. Hit it out of bounds once. Tee it up and let's go. Tee it up, maybe is what he's saying. Tee it up and let's go. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Guys, here's the thing, and we're going to talk about this literally coming out of the break. Your season's not remotely close to being over. But I do find it to be wild that you went from an LSU fan perspective, oh, man, if we win this game, we're shaping up for the playoff, and now everybody thinks you're going 8-4. It's funny how things happen. Very funny. Hurricane on YouTube says offensive line, defensive line wins. Miami has both. How you will see. I don't know what that means. I have no clue. Tom says fast forward 1 hour and it's halftime. It was pretty fun stream, all things considered. Yeah, I mean, it's a long show, man. And I don't get commercial breaks. Drunk Vigo, who was all over Rufino and Joe show, says Nuss is as overrated as Carson Beck. Well, that's a question I think a lot of people need to ask themselves. Is he? American Patriot says Florida State is going to roll to Miami. That's probably where the comment came from then. It's probably where the comment came from. William Sanders says, you suck in the pros. You are benched or cut. That's true. That is true. You are. You are. Lars says the injury is awfully convenient excuse. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Hyper Ninja says, Blake, it's Dakota, you the GOAT. See, I never knew who Hyper Ninja was. Never knew who Hyper Ninja was. Now I know it's Dakota, but I bet you Dakota calls into the show tonight. Hey, Blake, it's Dakota. You got to love it. You got to love it. All right, let's get moving here. Every episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Again, if you got the discretionary income, go over to FanDuel.com today. Garrett is going to be outside the top 10 of those Heisman considerations. I think LSU's like minus 300 not to make the playoff. You got to do some discretionary income. Go over there and use it. It's all in fun as we go throughout the season. Everyone do us a favor. Hit the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Let me get to a quick break. The truth. We got to get to it, and we talk about it next. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man. He's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler. He'll shoot you straight.
Hey, guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick. We're back. A couple of super chats in here before we get rolling. Penn Jones with a $5 super chat says, BK, though, I'm assuming, said he wouldn't be healthy until after the bye week. But the thing about that, though, Penn, was literally 2 weeks ago, or last week, not this past week, but the week before, he came out and said that he had, going into the Southeastern game, that the reason that he was going to play was because he was coming out of it, he needed to take the reps, and that he was fully healthy. Then he said in the postgame on Saturday, I don't know what to tell you, he's healthy, that he was ready to go. So I know he said he probably wouldn't be 100% going into the bye week, but I don't know. I mean, listen, your eyes tell you what really is going on, and I don't know if he's completely all the way there, and I think it's a detriment to your team right now, which we'll talk about. Go hard or go home says, when will the local media stop being soft and ask BK questions that will put his back up against the wall? You mean like Michael Cobble did? You mean like when Michael Cobble asked him, even after the Florida game, when they won, about the offense and how bad it looked, and he called everybody spoiled? You mean that one? I mean, like, I get what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but it's not as if that he overreacted to Cobble's question. Hey, why can't you stay on the field on third down? Hey, why can't in the second year under Joe Sloan you run the football? Hey, why can't Garrett Nussmeier push the ball down the field? He asked all those questions, and BK lost his temper and then apologized for it. I think he did. I mean, guys, it went super viral, right? I mean, like, I don't think Michael Cobble didn't ask a tough question. I think he asked the toughest question. And now everybody's posting like, oh, well, see, Briankelly, we're not spoiled now. They did ask him tough questions. It's just that he didn't answer them, not to the way that you want to. And I'm sure Wednesday when he speaks with the media, he's going to be asked about Michael Van Buren. And I thought Feinbaum did a horrible job at not asking him questions about Garrett Nussmeier, to be honest with you, which we'll talk about Feinbaum in a minute. Who Dat Fan Man says, enjoying from Pineville in the 31831 great. Yes, thank you for everybody sending the super chats. Where is everybody watching from tonight? Where are you watching from tonight? So that would be the question that I ask you. Are you listening from us to 225-318-504-985-337? Where are you watching from tonight? All right, we've wasted enough time. Let's get into it here. Every AYS show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Go over to FanDuel.com today for more. If you have questions, go to FanDuel.com/RG. But every AYS Sports show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. All right. We got to have an honest conversation about where we sit offensively. Coming out of the Ole Miss game, I think that's all the talk, what everybody wants to talk about. Where do you sit now coming out of the game versus Ole Miss in the loss? I know a lot of people want to make some things, and even myself, in some instances, do I think the defense played great? No. Did I think they played good enough in 90-plus total plays, even with penalties included? You give up 24 points when you play 95 or 96 or around plays, even with the penalties. I think you played good enough. You scored 24 points. You're on the field for 90-plus plays. You probably should win that game. You hold that team to 24 points based off of how bad you were offensively, you should have won. Tonight, we're not talking a lot about the defense. Do I think that Blake Baker regrets not sending and spying Trinidad Chambliss a little bit more? Probably. But I'm not putting any of this on the defense. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's always crazy when the defense doesn't do what we expect them or we lose. It's always on Harold Perkins. And don't think that I'm not seeing your tweets or seeing what some of the narrative gets posted. He shouldn't be in coverage. Guys, Harold Perkins didn't lose you the game. When he got hurt last year, this defense is better without him. No, you weren't. You faced off against a really good team, and you held them to 24 points when your offense barely at times could get past the 50-yard line. No, I think they held strong. But we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves. Number one, let me tell you something that I've kind of grown a little bit weary of and something that I'm kind of done talking about. I'm a little tired of talking about how bad your offensive line is, and let me explain. Are they bad? Yeah, they're bad. Can they help you run the football? No. But something has got to give because this is going on the second year where you can't run the ball. And I know that you're not going to go anywhere fast if you cannot line up and just simply run the football. I understand that. But how many times are we going to use that as an excuse? Because now as an offensive coordinator under Joe Sloan, you've had 17 games to figure it out. Now, Brian Kelly today on Feinbaum said, well, we got to be better running against three-man fronts. No shit, you got to be better against running against three-man fronts. But you can't run the ball, nor can you scheme up anything to help you run the ball. And this has been a constant issue. So we can talk about Blake, the offensive line's bad. This is bad. That's bad. You're right. You're not wrong. And when we talk about Garrett, it is something that needs to be discussed. The offensive line is not good. You can't run the football. I get it. How many times are we going to have to talk about that before you start doing things to replicate it? And I do think, for what it's worth, there were some play calls in the game on Saturday against Ole Miss that you tried to, and your quarterback refuses to throw the football to the open guy. I posted the interception. And in the interception that Garrett threw, guys, he's got Bauer Sharp wide open on first down. You could have had a chance where I'm not even assuming that you're going to score a touchdown on that drive, but I'm just going to assume that you kick a field goal if you hit Bauer Sharp and you get close to the 30 to 25-yard line and you line up and kick a field goal and you go up 7. The decision-making is something that needs to be discussed because all of last year, I got ridiculed by saying, guys, is the offensive line bad? Yes, it's been bad. It's not going to get better. Well, you got to do things to remedy that. Now, today I tweeted this out, and I think the way that I tweeted it out, which is my fault, kind of got misunderstood. So let me explain. There have been teams that have had offensive line issues running the football with a quarterback that's been injured. It literally happened a year ago. Last year, the University of Texas had a starting quarterback in Quinn Ewers who had an oblique injury, had a torso injury, and required surgery, and he sat out a couple of weeks. In the games that Texas played last year against very tough opponents, and I don't know if you want to consider Ole Miss a very tough opponent, but against very tough opponents, guys, in 3 games, they had a total of 118 rushing yards. And in 2 of those games, they brought Georgia into overtime in the SEC championship game, and they were on the 1-yard line in the semifinal of the playoff with a chance to tie the game against Ohio State. So what did they do? Well, Blake, Joe Sloan is no Steve Sarkisian. You're right, he's not, but he found a way to get around it. See, what you don't do is what you really kind of mind-boggling to me at this point. You know that you can't run the ball. You know that you have an issue along your offensive line. You got to stop making it an excuse and saying, listen, we already know this, and start doing other things besides ramming your head against the wall and doing the same shit that you did all 5 weeks. Now, against Southeastern, you were a little bit different. Against Louisiana Tech, you did some things a little bit different. But against the 3 Power 5 opponents or Power 4 opponents that you played, you did the same thing over and over and over again, expecting for things to change. See, you can blame the offensive line, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm not saying that this offensive line is good and that they don't deserve any blame whatsoever, because they do. Brad Davis deserves some blame. The physicality and the overall culture and makeup deserves blame. Because we got to talk about this decision-making. Because how many games are you going to get to before you realize it's your biggest weakness? And what do you do to cover up your biggest weakness? You mask it. Guys, decision-making from the quarterback position over the last 2 years, quite frankly, has been god-awful. Now, last year, you can say, well, Blake, the offensive line was bad. Well, DJ Chester's not in there, and 4 of those guys got drafted. So what is it now? Now, the thing that we have to have a discussion about, and what I personally saw in recapping the Ole Miss game was, I think from the quarterback position, from the things that I personally saw, the decision-making was god-awful. Whether it's the interception, whether it's throwing into triple coverage multiple times, whether it's throwing into double coverage on 3rd down to Aaron Anderson, or throwing to Aaron Anderson and throwing him a hospital ball over the middle and him getting hurt, which we don't know the status of him right now. Gus, I know Aaron Torres tweeted this out, so I'm just going to quote him and use this, even though it's worse than this. In 10 SEC games, Garrett Nussmeier has 15 turnovers. 15. And that is not going to win you games either. So when you have a bad offensive line, you can't run the football, you also can't have a quarterback that's making horrible decisions, which he is. He is, and he has been. Now, I'm going to say this because it's about time it just came to a head. I don't think that there's anybody on this media beat from last year to right now and today that's taken more heat than I have about saying what I said last year about the interceptions and turnovers and what we need to talk about now. Guys, throwing into triple coverage, torso injury or not, oblique injury or not, does not defend throwing into triple coverage and not hitting a drag route that's open. It doesn't excuse the interception that was thrown against Florida when you're only up 10. It doesn't excuse it. What it does excuse is the fade route throw to Louisiana Tech that was short and got picked off, because that is an injury decision. You had Beern Brown. It was a good decision, but because of an injury, you couldn't throw the football and get it to him, and it got picked. I can live with that. I think you as an LSU fan should live with that. Because when I rewatch the game and I post these clips on social media, I'm not doing it for my own benefit. I'm doing it to show that decision-making has been god-awful. Now, Garrett is 6-4 versus SEC opponents. 6-4. And in those 6-4 games, he's thrown 15 picks, which we discussed. He's had 20 touchdowns and 15 picks. The 20 touchdown mark is absolutely impressive. It's 2 touchdowns per game. The 15 interceptions is getting you beat. The decision-making is getting you beat. You got to come to an understanding that a couple of things. You can't have both of being a bad offensive line and having a bad run game, and then your quarterback make bad decisions and be immobile. It cannot happen. Because, guys, you will be looking down and staring down the barrel of an 8-4 gun yet again if it doesn't get fixed. Something has got to be fixed. Now, before we move any further, I wanted to say this. Don't say that you weren't warned, by the way, because you were. You were warned literally on Thursday that it was not a matter of if you were going to get beat. It was only a matter of when. Because when you have those bad decisions and you can't run the football, well, only one thing's going to happen, guys. You're going to lose a game that you probably shouldn't have. And then when I come in here on Thursday and I say this, the reason this makes me nervous is because I always am of the belief that if you struggle in the run game, it's not a matter of if you get beat. It's only a matter of when you're going to get beat. You're 111th in the country in rushing. It was only a matter of time. But when you can't run the football and you keep missing, guys, it's not going to get masked. Now, we've taken a lot of shots, or I've taken a lot of shots at the offensive line. By the way, that clip was from Thursday. And Blake, why are you so nervous? We're going to blow them out by 21 points. No, you should have listened. But the offensive game plan has been god-awful the last 2 years too. And it's about time that we stop masking that too. If anybody that's an LSU fan or a national media member or a member in general of the media that's around LSU tells you that they have any idea what the identity of this offense is, they're lying. And you know how I know? Because LSU doesn't know their identity. They have no clue of what they want to be. They know that they have to try to be balanced and run the football. They don't know when. I don't think that the decision-making is only in the passing game either. When you're a quarterback and you see a 3-man front and it's 2nd and 4, 2nd and 5, whatever it may be, you got to check into a run and run the football and get yardage. You know, I think of Joe Burrow's first ever overall start against Miami. And the long Nicholas Brissett run was him checking out of a pass to get into a run play because they had a 3-man down front. I know that the quarterback position is there's a lot to take hold. But I don't know if overall of checking out of plays and not knowing what defenses are in is not your biggest issue. I think a lot of times on the offensive line, I think a lot of times at receiver, I think a lot of times at running back, and I think all the time, mainly at quarterback, you're guessing about what's going to happen instead of flat out reacting. But I don't think Joe Sloan at the current moment has shown that there is an offensive identity to this team. Now, I will defend Sloan in this regard. Guys, you can't keep missing all of this stuff underneath and stuff be wide open and say that, well, that's a bad play call. Because, guys, there are situations like we posted where Bauer Sharp, Aaron Anderson, Kyle Parker, Xavion Thomas are wide open underneath, and either you're hitting them late and you're hitting behind them, or for the first time in the game, the throw, they actually do cover the stuff underneath, and you throw it anyway, and they tackle you before the line to gain. You're guessing. But overall, as an offense, you're not doing good enough from a play calling perspective. You've had 17 games where you can't run the football, and 4 guys got drafted. You got better at right tackle with Weston Davis out and Carius Kern in, and that is a plus. And you still couldn't run the ball, nor did you continue to attempt it. The biggest thing that I would say about play calling this week that pisses me off is that you did not stay with the run against the worst rushing defense in the SEC. You let one bad run affect what you were doing and try to throw the ball all over the place with an injured quarterback, allegedly an injured quarterback. That's what makes me the most upset. It's not the fact that you couldn't run the football. It's that you didn't continue to try to go to it when you were having blatant amounts of success. Like when Harlan Berry runs the ball for 9 yards, keep running it. And let me throw this in there too. 2 weeks ago versus Florida, you had 2 runs of 9 yards from Juwan Johnson on a shotgun toss. You haven't run it since. You know, there was a quote-unquote sourcing that came out 2 weeks ago that said LSU is going to be running more out of the I formation. Guys, since the last play against Florida, you hadn't run it. And Brian Kelly's long rant, it was, we can run the football. Look at the last play of the game. No, you can't. You can't. Because you're getting bad decisions from your OC. You're getting bad decisions from your quarterback. And quite honestly, I don't know if your offensive line knows what they're doing because they keep whiffing. It looks like they're confused. In the offseason, there was a thought that I had. When Brian Kelly got involved in play calling last year versus Florida, and things got better offensively. During the offseason, I said, I just don't see a way, and we can pull this up for you if you'd like. I did not think that there was a way that Brian Kelly could walk back not being involved in play calling. How could that remotely happen? How can that remotely happen? Because you confirmed to the world when you took out a play sheet versus Florida that you needed to get involved regardless of what is actually happening. You told every LSU fan that you felt as a head coach that you needed to be involved. That's the perception that you gave off, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, and you walked it back. Now you're struggling more than ever. You're struggling more than ever. Now, even though I don't think that Brian Kelly should have walked it back, and quite frankly, as crazy as this sounds, I want him meddling more in the offense. And it's been past time that I've called for him to meddle in the offense. When Mike Denbrock's here, fine, don't meddle. Because he knows what he's doing. But last year, you felt like you had to get involved. Now, why aren't you? Brian Kelly said today on Feinbaum that he's angry with himself, and he should be angry with himself. Because you can't keep ramming your head up against the wall thinking that play calling and decision-making from the quarterback decision or from the position or the offensive line will get better. Masking does not cover sins. Winning always has covered up a multitude of sins. It used to be the mantra of this show. Winning will cure all. But when you lose, it comes all out. I don't think Brian Kelly ever should have gotten rid of being involved from a play calling standpoint, nor do I think he needs to do it now. If you're asking me, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, I don't know if you make a change in season. I do not, and I've been very vocal about this, I don't like calling for people's jobs unless it gets egregiously very, very, very bad. To my own detriment, I may be the last person on the beat that will call for somebody's job. I don't like it. Guys, people have families, they have wives, they have jobs. I don't like it. It's not their fault that you hired them to do a position that maybe they're not qualified for. It's your fault. However, let's get down to brass tacks and what you're probably here for tonight. Is it time to go to Michael Van Buren? If Garrett Nussmeier is truly hurt and he has an oblique injury, whether Brian Kelly says he does or he doesn't, whether he does from going out to media availabilities, does Garrett say, I'm not talking about injuries, and gives off the vibe that he is injured, and then you see some of the bad throws, you see some of the bad things that are happening, the fluttering passes to Xavier Thomas, can't throw the ball 35 yards downfield to Chris Hilton on a fade that maybe will win you the game. I think it's pretty obvious that something's off. Whether you didn't prepare the way you needed to prepare in the offseason, or you do have an oblique injury. Regardless, is Garrett Nussmeier hindering you offensively? Because, guys, you can't find a run game, and he's immobile. And I don't like players getting benched or not playing because of an injury. I don't like it. But you get to a situation where, what do you have to lose? You're 119th in the country in run offense. You're 44th in passing offense, which is a miracle that you're that as bad as you've been. You're 59th on third down. You're 77th in the red zone. And you're the 88th total offense in the country. You can't run the ball. You can't score points. And you're one of the worst total offenses in the country. And, guys, if you take out the Southeastern game, you're in the 120s in a lot of these categories. You're almost dead last, if not dead last, in the SEC. What do you have to lose? Now, we're going to talk about later what I think LSU is going to do. But let's talk about Michael Van Buren for just a second. Guys, Michael Van Buren last year at Mississippi State, because of a Blake Shapen injury, had to come in for Mississippi State and did some really good things. Did some bad things as well. Had a lot of turnovers as a true freshman. But against teams like Texas, against teams like Georgia, he went toe-to-toe with them. And quite frankly, in some of those games, kept them in the game with some of the big throws that he made. Now, I have been out there, and I saw him during camp, and I thought some things were really sluggish. And I thought some things didn't look great. But at this point, you got to ask yourself the question, if Garrett Nussmeier is injured, do you move on to Michael Van Buren? And if Nuss wants to play, I understand that. But is he hurting your team? I think that not being able to throw the ball 35 yards down the field when a receiver has multiple steps on a DB and you're putting everything that you got into it and pushing the ball down the field and you can't do it, guys, that can't happen. Because against teams like Ole Miss, in 2 weeks against a team in South Carolina, against Texas A&M, who, guys, I know that they only scored 16 points versus Auburn, but who also went up to Notre Dame and splattered that ass. You got to give Michael Van Buren a look. Now, I do not think that they are going to do that. My gut tells me right now, the Monday in 2 weeks before you play against South Carolina, I don't think that they do that. I think that they rest Garrett and then they let him rest during the week. You come back on Monday, see if he's ready to go, and if the time off was able to help him recoup and recover here. Because you're going to continue to have a bad offensive line. You're going to continue to not have a run game. And when you have a quarterback that is very immobile and is injured and can't push the ball down the field, you're not going to win against these teams in the SEC. And you need to find something that can spark you. Now, when Garrett Nussmeier is fully healthy, and if he's fully healthy, if he's truly healthy, not, hey, I feel good, but if he's truly healthy, then run out there with it and see what he can do. But I question that. Here's the reason why I question it. Brian Kelly was on with Paul Feinbaum today, and he said, if there were some details that I had before the game, maybe we would have done some things differently. And I'm paraphrasing what he said. But Jacques Doucette of WAFB put the exact quote. And I'm going to read the exact quote to you. So at least I guess I should have just done that anyway. But let's read the exact quote that Brian Kelly said today on Feinbaum. He said, I think everybody's angry. I'm angry at myself for not having the details in this game that we needed. What are those details? Are those details that Garrett Nussmeier was actually more injured going into that game than maybe that was led on to Brian Kelly? I don't know that. I don't know that to be the case. But what are those details? Because based off of the throws that I saw, the details were, and based off of your comment was, would you have played Michael Van Buren over Garrett Nussmeier if you knew what you knew? If you decide to go to Michael Van Buren, which at the current moment, the way how things are going, I don't know if it's not a bad idea to give him a look. But I also come to a situation where, to all LSU fans, guys, you got to be patient with him. If Garrett Nussmeier is out in 2 weeks, if he's out for a month, who knows? You're going to have to be patient with a young quarterback. And he's still learning on the job in a new offense. And guys, in a new offense from a coordinator that a lot of you think that shouldn't be here. But the ultimate question is, does Michael Van Buren give you the best chance to win? I think the things that Michael Van Buren will instantly do for your offense right now with what appears to be an injured Garrett Nussmeier. We saw Michael Van Buren push the ball down the field, literally against Southeastern, and every game that he played for Mississippi State a season ago. He is by far and clearly more mobile than Garrett Nussmeier, and either, for what it's worth, he will run and isn't going to tiptoe and make the bad decision if given the green grass opportunity to run. Guys, in this league, if you are immobile, you will not have success. Ask Connor Weigman at Texas A&M last year when you got him benched. And they went to Marcel Reed. How did that play out? Well, one kid transferred and the other's a starter at Texas A&M right now. You cannot sit in the – things are going to break down. And there is not going to be lanes and throwing lanes when they can drop 8. I would have more faith that Van Buren would see that and say, hey, I got 7 yards of green grass. I'm going to go and take it and pray to God that he does. And maybe in a situation where Garrett's dressed, and if you absolutely needed him to go, maybe you could, but you're going to have to give MVB a shot, in my humble opinion. And I hate it for Garrett. And let me say this, because I know there's going to be a lot of pissed off people for me saying this. I'm not asking, if Garrett were fully healthy, I'm not asking for this. But he can't throw the ball, guys, downfield. And he's trying to overcompensate. There's no way as an LSU fan that you have seen the last 4 weeks and can say to yourself that he is right. You can't. Brian Kelly confirmed an injury. You have wobbly passes. You can't get the ball downfield. Well, what are we supposed to expect? Now, I don't think that you have the personnel on offense, especially up front. And if you're going to give up a pass rush, if you're not going to be able to run the football, you're going to have to find ways. You're going to have to find ways to generate things in the run game. You must. And if you don't want to run, Garrett, if you don't want to run the football with a quarterback, you're just simply not going to do it. You're not going to have success. What I think is going to happen here is simple. I think that they are going to rest Garrett Nussmeier throughout the week. And I think when it comes to next Monday, a week from today, they're going to see how he feels. That's what I think. Guys, I'm 1,000% speculating on that. Completely speculating. And I think they'll go from there. But if Garrett Nussmeier goes into the South Carolina game and you have a lot of the same situations that you had this past weekend versus Ole Miss, then guys, quite honestly, you gotta see if Michael Van Buren can give you something a little bit different. And to be frank with you, if you let him go out there for one series and then you take him out because he doesn't get a first down, that's a detriment to you in your own right. But I do ask the question, has Michael Van Buren been that bad at practice and things that we haven't seen that limits you to wanting to play a hurt Garrett Nussmeier over him? If you're asking me, I think the situation where Garrett's got a lot more dirty details than what's being led on than maybe a hurt torso or hurt or oblique. Guys, it's not rocket science. You have 15 interceptions in 10 games, and the offensive line has constantly been blamed, and to some extent they need to. But I will wrap it kind of up and starting with this. Having pressure, getting sacked does not excuse, not being able to run the ball does not excuse turnovers. Because I know a lot of you LSU fans that clown Quinn Ewers constantly. And I see on Twitter that you were doing it last year. Constantly you were clowning him. Why? Why? Decision-making has not been good, and it's about time that we start wrapping our minds around that. I personally am going to take a lot of shit for coming out here tonight and saying what I've said. A lot of shit. But it is the truth. It is the truth. You can't fold up in your sleeping bag and curl up in a little ball and think, oh my God, we can't run the ball. We can't pass protect. So I guess we just are going to just continue to try what we're doing. Fuck that. You can't do that. If you cannot find ways to counteract the run game, if you can't find a way to get through to kids and be in situations where they are making better decisions, that is on you as a coach. It's on you as a coach. But guys, I end it with this. Well, a couple of things, I guess. I end it with this. I know I'm going to get completely and utterly destroyed by this take. But I ask you a question. In the 5 years that we've had Garrett as our starting quarterback, because he's got 22 interceptions. 22. In the last 18 games, he's got 15 total interceptions and 22 total turnovers, with fumbles included. That cannot happen. It cannot happen. And the injury, for me, is why I'm saying you got to give Van Buren a look. But even if you give Van Buren a look, the decision-making has got to be cleaned up. You can't keep throwing into triple coverage. You can't keep throwing balls into double coverage. You can't stop getting out of run plays on three-man fronts to throw the football. Now, if you want to get out of a run and you got one-on-one with Chris Hilton, you better be damn sure that you can get the football more than 35 yards. I don't mind that decision. What I mind is that you can't get it there. So, you can't throw everything away because you don't have a run game. You have got to start from scratch. You got to say to everybody that's on that offensive side of the football, listen, every position's up for grabs. Every single one. And until things get better, and until you find something from a play calling, decision making, run blocking, running the football from your running backs in general, everybody's job is up for grab coaches and players included. Guys, quite frankly, this is just as bad as how you were defensively in 23. This is the equivalent from it offensively. Let's call it like it is. And it sucks. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. It sucks that it looks like Garrett Nussmeier is hurt. It sucks. And I don't blame him for being hurt. I'm mad at the whole situation that he's hurt. I really am. But you got to have the honest conversation with yourself. Are you being a detriment to your own team? He doesn't have the offensive line around him. He doesn't have a run game around him. And quite frankly, I don't think he's got the play calling around him. What else are you going to do here? Because you can't lay down. The season's not over with. It's not over with. So whatever decision that you are going to make moving forward from today has got to start being some of the right ones. Brian Kelly, in my opinion, has got to be more involved in the play calling, or Alex Atkins, or whoever, but somebody's got to help being involved with it. There's got to be a constant conversation with all of your quarterbacks about what you do and do not do when you're throwing the football. Clearly. Because, guys, it can't continue to happen. The throw and interception versus Ole Miss is not the worst interception of the season. It's not the one against Louisiana Tech. The one at Florida confirms to me of how bad decision-making has gotten, how lackadaisical and unfocused we've been, how la-di-da we've been with the football. You can't run it. You can't throw it. And quite frankly, I don't know where you go from here, but you got to find something. All right. Brandon, how bad am I getting killed in the chat? Oh, not bad? Oh, okay. I thought I was going to get obliterated. I really thought I was going to get obliterated. So the chat's okay. I'm not going to get hurt. I know I'm not going to make friends in that building, but it is what it is. The football ops, but it is what it is. We got to tell the truth. Couple of super chats here. Jack K says, hey, Blake, how do we fix the run game issues? You don't. Do you think it's coaching and player personnel? I think it's both. The only way forward right now, based off of the last 17 games that we've seen from Sloan and these different offensive lines, guys, I do think it's scheme. I do think it's personnel, though. Like, look at you defensively from a year ago. Was it play calling or was it personnel? Hold on, stop, pause. Last year, LSU was bad on defense. Was it play calling or personnel? And the one thing I'm just going to give Joe Sloan is, guys, there is shit open. The reason I don't do this often, I did it on Sunday, but the reason I don't do this often is because when you start posting all this stuff and the all 22 copies and you start saying Garrett's missing this, Garrett's missing that, people start, well, Blake's attacking Garrett. No, but you got to be like, do you want the truth? Independent media in the United States of America became a massive thing because of why? Because there were actually people out there that would tell you the truth and challenge what actually has happened. There's shit open. In the run game, the only thing at this exact point that I think you can do is maybe try to get a more mobile quarterback in there and see what you got. See what you got. Other than that, I don't know. Because the truth of it is, in the interior of your offensive line, you're getting whipped. The right side of your interior offensive line got abused. I don't know what else to tell you. Left guard wasn't better. You look confused. So maybe Van Buren can make some magic. I don't know. But here's the other thing. You're asking this kid So if MVB does come in, hypothetically speaking, if he does come in, you're asking him to do something that maybe might be a little bit unachievable, right? Like it might be unachievable for him to do some of the things that we're wanting him to do. But I know he's not going to I don't, based off of what we saw last year, just go watch Georgia or Texas versus Mississippi State. Guys, that dude was a true freshman, and he might be a gamer. He might not be a practice guy. I don't know. I don't think here's the thing, and I will be bluntly honest, I don't think he was great during camp. But what else are you going to do? Because you can't keep throwing a hurt quarterback out there. So other than getting a mobile quarterback involved, I don't know. They've run gap, they've run wham, they've run counter, they've run everything humanly possible, and it doesn't work. But here's another thing, too. You don't stay with it. Like, for an example, Xavier Thomas last week took an outside zone run. And in that outside zone run, he tried to cut it back and slipped, and you stopped running the football with it. He fucking slipped. Who cares? Get back up there and run the ball. Get back up there and run the ball. You can't be, I feel as if sometimes you play sissy ball. You're not tough enough. Or you don't mask that you are. All right, Kenny with a $2 super chat. I'm sure Kenny had a message. Kenny, if you got one, send one in. Dane Bergeron with a $5 super chat says the O-line is soft. There's not a single offensive line that would make a pimple on Faneca. Excuse me. Collins and others. Stop stargazing and get some dogs. Faneca. I don't think that's how you. I think Faneca has an A in the second one. But Kevin Mawai, I mean, yeah, you're soft. You're soft. Oh. Dane, it's not good. Lars with a $10 super chat says the defense can't do it all. No, they can't. And listen, there's a reason why, Lars, I have not said anything about the defense. Like, what else do you expect from them when they run technically over 90 plays? What else do you want from them? I just don't know what else you want from them. Was there some shit like Chambliss scrambling on third downs bugs the shit out of me. However, you gave up 7 points in the second half, and you had two opportunities. Like, for example, you lined up for 2 field goals you shouldn't have lined up for. You're calling a timeout when you need to do a quarterback sneak. Like, you're just disjointed. You're not composed ever. So you're putting everything on this defense like you put everything on the offense in 23. And guys, I'm telling you, you can keep running that back out there. It's not going to be a matter of if you get beat. It's when and who's going to beat you. Because you got to go on the road to Bama. You got to go on the road to South Carolina. You got to go on the road. You got to go on the road to Alabama. You got to go on the road to Vandy. You got to go on the road to Oklahoma. And before you snip at Vandy, because Vandy's got a top 10 run defense versus your 119th run offense. Yeah, because that's really a great recipe for success. General Grievous on YouTube with a $5 super chat says, how does LSU continue to generalize sides of the ball, but then F up somewhere else and do bad? We don't even sniff the playoffs. I don't know. You spent more money on on defense. By far, you spent more money on defense. And listen, I mean, you lost 4 offensive linemen. Did you expect it to get better? Like, I saw national media members like on 3 saying, I just don't see how this offensive line gets worse. Well, you should have listened into AYS, because name a practice report where I did not personally come in here and say they're getting their asses whipped. Please name one. Please. That's just you not wanting to listen. So, Josh Jones, with a $10 super chat says Sloan play calling Nuss decision making O-line, but BK last year helped call plays in the last 3 games. Please make a hard decision and do what you have to. Josh, I mean, you get paid $10 million a year to make the hard decision. A hard decision's got to be made here. If Garrett comes out of the bye week, comes into Monday, and he looks great, then fine. Roll with him. By all means, if Garrett takes off the week, he's fully rested, he comes out invigorated on Monday, he looks good on Monday, then great. Roll with him. But if you get into two Saturdays from now, or not this Saturday, but next, if you get into there and a lot of the shit looks the same, what are you going to do? And even if Garrett looks fine from a health perspective and you can't move the ball, then what? Then what? Like, what do you do? Because in 2023, you didn't have a choice because you didn't have the personnel. But in 2023, as an example, you played and started Ovi Ogofu over Braden Swinson. Let me repeat what I just said. In 2023, instead of playing Braden Swinson, you played Ovi Ogofu because of a coach's decisions. You got to rip the Band-Aid off and say, Garrett, we got to roll with it, buddy. The injury is affecting you. And who knows what the next 2 weeks bring? Who knows? I don't know. Does he need surgery? I don't know. Does he not need surgery? I don't know. What I do know is that offensively, guys, you're staring 9-3, 8-4 in the face. And it's not where you want to be. Cole with a $5 super chat. What do you think about Dan Mullen as OC? I wouldn't hate it at all. You don't have the quarterback. Well, first off, I don't think Dan Mullen wants to leave a head coaching position. I don't think that is his forte. What I mean by forte is I don't think he would want to. Let me back up. Dan Mullen was offered a lot of OC jobs around the country and declined them and waited to get a head coaching job. And he got one at UNLV. But listen, here's another situation that you sit in. You're paying $20 million in TV revenue money that you don't have. And if you got to fire Sloan, if you got to fire Cortez, whatever you do or don't do, I'm not calling you to fire anybody, but hypothetically, if you do, where are you getting the money from? And I don't really want to hear LSU bitch about money if I'm being honest. I said it during the NIL stuff when you were trying to rebuild your portal roster. I don't want to hear about money. You're LSU. Go get the fucking money. But I mean, listen, you got to go get a bona fide dude. And do you hold on to Blake Baker? Because there's going to be a lot of jobs that open up. You have Florida that might open up. Virginia Tech's already opened up. Arkansas opened up. Does Auburn open up? Like, there's going to be so many jobs that are going to be available. Does John Summerall at Tulane get one of those jobs? And if he gets one of those jobs, does Tulane come calling for Blake Baker to come home? So then are you in a situation where not only you're replacing one coordinator, you're replacing both? And I'm just going to tell you, if Blake Baker leaves, Kevin Peoples is going with him. I mean, he's going with him. Interesting situation to be in. Mark with a $5 super chat says, Nuss needs to go back to 13 and wear a small 18 patch. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. I don't buy into the 18-7 thing, really, about it being a curse, because I thought Josh Williams did a lot for you last year. But a true leader would know that you're being a detriment to the team and sit. Because you are right now. You're a detriment to the team. If you can't throw the ball 35 yards downfield and you're taking everything that you humanly possibly have and you're the quarterback at LSU, then guys, what are we discussing? It's not a matter of him being fully healthy and you're asking him to be benched. It's that he's not healthy and he is being a detriment to your team and you're calling for it. So, Hale Mendoza with a $2 super chat says, honestly, Blake, how much to make you the OC of LSU? 500,000. 500,000 should do it. And a lifetime supply of LSU gear. And I continue to get to do a podcast every week. Shit, now that I think about it, 350,000. Not shit, $20. Oh, God. Cole with a $2 super chat says, sounds like 4 losses, honestly. Yes, it does. It does. To some. John Sibley Butler says, we only lost 1 game, and it's close, and it was a close scoring game. I don't think it's time to panic. I think that Bama is our only worry. We will beat South Carolina, Vandy, Aggies, and OU. Am I too optimistic? Yes. I love you, Dr. Butler, but yes, you are. Because you can go into Bama and lose, and I got to be real with you. I think that A&M is better than anyone wants to give them credit for. Can they finish? Are they going to be anything worth a damn? I don't know. You got to go to the road to Vandy, and quite frankly, I think defensively you can stop them, but I don't know what they are, and we find out this week versus Bama. I don't know if you can go into OU and win in the last game, what might be a playoff eliminator. No, I mean, if that is the level of offense you're going to get, you better be worried about every week, Doc. I greatly appreciate the super chat, but yes, I do think you're being a little too optimistic because, again, you can't run the football. You're making bad decisions from your quarterback position. You don't know what you're doing or your identity on offense. You don't have an identity on offense. And quite frankly, what Pete Golding just showed America, teams are going to replicate on you. Now, do I think that you are going to go 6-6? No. Do I think you're going to go 7-5? No. I do think right now your floor would be 8-4. But I got to be real with you. I mean, you can't worry about, if you're this team, you can't worry about that. You only got to worry about beating South Carolina, then going on the road to Vandy, then coming home against A&M. But you can only take that 1 week at a time. The only thing that they should be worried about right now is rest in South Carolina. But Bama, yeah, you can lose. Oklahoma, yeah, you can lose. A&M, yeah, you can lose. Guys, I mean, I don't know what else. Yes. Have you seen their receiving core? Yes, you can lose. I don't know if you will. Like, I never, ever pick against LSU at home. Ever. I pick against them on the road to lose. I'm not picking you to lose on the road. But it also comes down to a point where I would pick, if you ask me today, Blake, LSU at Alabama, I'm taking Bama. LSU on the road to Oklahoma, I'm taking Oklahoma. Blake, you're not an LSU fan. Well, who else is going to tell you the fucking truth? So, yeah, Doc, I think you're being a little too optimistic. Let me get to a quick break. We take a lot of phone calls next. Stay with us.
Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month and also doing those $99 tune-up promotions. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. from Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington. They're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority. Hey, Southwest Louisiana, are you ready to gear up for your next outdoor adventure or tackle that next big job on the farm? Then head on over to Henderson Tractors, Boats, and Power Sports. At Henderson and Lake Charles, they've got everything you need under one massive 30,000 square foot indoor showroom. Kubota tractors and mowers to power through the toughest tasks. Polaris off-road bikes and side-by-sides to conquer any trail. And tracker boats with brands like Ranger, Nitro, Sun Tracker, and Regency pontoons for a day out on the water. Whether you're a farmer or a hunter or just someone who loves the great outdoors, Henderson has what you need to get the job done and have fun while doing it. Browse their new and used inventory over at their website, hendersonimplement.com. That's hendersonimplement.com. Or give them a call today at 337-436-4366. That's 337-436-4366. Or go see them over in Lake Charles on the corner of East McNee Street and Highway 14. Remember, if you need a tractor, go to Henderson. Need a boat, go to Henderson. Or if you need an ATV or side-by-side, you know where to go. Henderson. Just let them know that your good friend Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you on by.
We're back. All right. 225-435-9387. 225-435-9387 is the phone number to call. No to all of those who call in during ungodly times. Is this my personal number? All right. Let's get to some phone calls here. Hold on 1 second as we transition into this. You're on the phone with Blake Ruffino. This is the AYS show. Who do we have the pleasure of talking to today?
Hey, Blake, it's Dakota.
I knew you were going to be the first person. Good evening, Dakota. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like after the Ole Miss game, I've been seeing a lot of people saying, you know, is Garrett Nussmeier the problem? Is Joe Sloan the problem? And to be honest, I really think Brad Davis should be in that list. Don't you agree?
I don't disagree.
Because this is like what? I mean, we didn't really run the ball well in 23 because, Jane Daniels was our huge success that year. But like last year and now this year, it's just we're not really running the ball well. And I feel like the offensive line is not doing us much favors, but Garrett is just, I don't know, like Joe Sloan. I can't even tell who you really want to blame.
You talking about me?
No, not you. I'm talking about, no, you're calling it how it is. I'm talking about the fans are saying that they want to say fire Joe Sloan.
Okay.
But then the other side's saying, well, it's Nussmeier's fault. So it's like,
well,
because
okay, I see what your thought question. It's both of them, but here's the thing that we gotta separate. Okay, are there bad play calling decisions? Yes. Are you throwing the ball constantly when they're dropping 8? Yes, that's on Joe Sloan. 1,000%. You can't deny that is on Sloan. However, when you have an interception and you throw in a triple coverage multiple times throughout a game, I don't think Joe Sloan's going to ask him to throw in a triple coverage. Who's that on? So then it gets to a mixture of the both of them. Then you can't run the ball. Well, you can't run the ball the last 2 years. Really, you can't run the ball outside of Jane Daniels effectively enough outside the last 3 years. Who's that on?
Well, the turnovers is on Nussmeier, but I think the problem is do you think that, look, if Nussmeier's not healthy, then he shouldn't even be out there, period. I want that guy to succeed. I'm not saying he needs to be benched. I'm not asking for anybody to be benched. But if he's hurt, then let's see what Michael Van Buren's got. Like, I get, yeah, he was, a freshman at Mississippi State, and, he had some good moments. But, if he can give you something to win games, and he may not be perfect, but at least he has some moments where he can at least be elusive, which Garrett does not want to do at times,
Well,
Like,
I think the quarterback sneak when he called the timeout, I don't think that it wasn't a play clock issue. You had 3 seconds left. I just think that mentally he checked out of it.
right, and I feel like the defense, I mean, I can't really put all the blame on
You
them
need to put
because
batteries in your smoke alarm, by the way, but continue.
well, I mean, I'm not saying Blake Baker called a great game, but but what I'm trying to put is, like, I feel like the defense did you some favors in the first half, but then Garrett threw that turnover, which that was really terrible, if you want me to ask me. I don't even, like,
Well,
I think the Florida one was worse.
Through to Aaron Anderson, the one in the double coverage that almost got picked, and then the one that got him hurt. I mean, he threw a hospital ball.
Yeah, and, like, that right there, I think that really killed the momentum. But, I mean, you can't and he's just not he's not accurate on his throws. Every deep ball he's thrown, it's been overthrown, or we just can't come down with it. And I don't know, man. Like, but all I'm going to say is we got a bye week. I'm not going to be that guy that says, I'm not talking about you, Blake. I'm talking about the fans. They're going to say, well, we're going to go 7-5. The season's over. The season's not over. We have a lot to prove. I mean, it's got to get better, though. I mean, if you can't run the football, what's to say that we beat South Carolina, or Vanderbilt?
It's a great question, Dakota, and I'm sure we'll be able to hear from you and when you call in and we talk about it. Thanks for the call, buddy.
Thank you, Blake.
All right. Every episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. If you got discretionary income, go over to FanDuel.com today to be able to place those bets. All right. You're on the phone with Blake Ruffino. This is ayssports. Who do we have the pleasure of talking to?
Jeff Sams.
What did you think of the game? And what do you think of this situation?
Blake, I'm so glad you answered the phone. I want to tell you, I've been watching you and Carter a lot, and I've really noticed you have stepped up your game. And let me tell you, the very first game, Clemson, it's some of the play calling. It wasn't on Nuss. But what I do like about Sloan is they showed him, he made a call, and he took his fist and banged it on the table. Always like a coach, because I know he's trying. They need to get an offensive coordinator, switch Sloan back to quarterback coach. What is it going to hurt? What does it take? We have to lose 4 or 5 games before we switch a quarterback? I mean, come on, put the guy in. If we can get some run plays, you rest the defense, we beat Ole Miss. It's very simple. You got to change. And our right guard has to be switched out. It's common sense. All you got to do is look and tell it. Just because I make a negative comment about LSU doesn't mean I hate LSU. I'm just frustrated with them.
I mean, you're telling the king of people who think I hate this place when I literally made my entire living doing it.
No.
One thing, can you turn the TV down or whatever in the back? Because
Sure.
we got a pretty bad echo.
Sure.
Thank you.
There you go.
I agree with everything you're saying. I don't know. I think if you're going to rip that Band-Aid off and you're going to move him, I don't think this is a situation like Brian Hartline at Ohio State, meaning I don't know if you can demote him because then you're going to have multiple people. And I think the Brian Hartline thing was different because he brought in like 7 5-star receivers that were all first-round picks, right? And that was an Ohio State guy. So I don't know if, like, let's just say you go get an offensive coordinator, okay, hypothetically speaking, and you keep Sloan. Well, then what position group is he going to coach?
Quarterback.
Well, then you can't keep Sloan because Denbrock coached tight ends. So then you got to move on from Alex Atkins. You see what I'm saying? Those guys, like,
then
go ahead.
You have to get rid of Sloan.
Okay,
you have to look at the extra point play call. That was horrendous.
It was
horrendous.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Horrendous. I can guarantee you, I could call better plays than Sloan. Now, I can tell you this: I'm not going to put her with Nussmeier throwing into triple coverage. I'm pulling them. You have, and the right guard is not playing. I got to see what you got on that line.
No, I
agree. And Blake, you can write this down.
Okay, I'm writing it down.
If they don't change anything, they're going to lose to South Carolina. They're going to lose to A&M. Vandy is going to run. The defense is a national championship defense. It's the defense cannot maintain 3 and out.
No, they can't. You're right. They can't. You got to play complementary football. To your point,
it's you don't put no pressure on the other team.
No, you don't.
So if you're a coach, you just gonna keep running the same shit? You gonna keep doing the same thing?
I mean, you can't, because you're going to continue to get the same result. And look, I guess we'll just see. I appreciate the phone call, brother.
All right.
225-435-9387 is the phone number. Chris says, brother, my assessment from Nuss is the same as Mettenberger or Jared Lee. Chunk yardage, Nuss can't win you a game. That's your assessment. Thank you for the super chat. Abe says, wasn't healthy Nuss balling in Camp Spring? No. This offense was getting their asses whooped. Hey, turn to the caller that's listening right now. Turn it down in the background. No, Nuss was getting his ass whooped, and this offense was getting their ass whooped during camp. Abe, at no point during AYS practice reports did we say that the offense was doing anything worth the damn consistently. All right, you're on the phone with Blake. This is AYS. What'd you think?
How's it going, Blake?
Good, man. How are you, bud?
First of all, good. This has been a truth-telling clinic from you so far, so I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to try and remain calm. I'm going to go two quick comments here.
Okay.
First, about Nuss's injury. This may be a less popular one, but frankly, I'm not sure there's an explanation for it. So we hear – I don't believe he's hurt at all, frankly, and I'll explain why. The SEC mandates this year – that if a player's limited even 1%, it has to be on the injury report. So you mean to tell me that Nussmeier is so injured he can't play the position of quarterback, but he's not so injured that we're going to send him out against Southeastern? He's so hurt that he can't play the position of quarterback, but we're going to let him play against Florida, and he's going to be a full, unlimited, complete participant on Monday the next week to gear up for Southeastern. So he's so hurt he can't play the position, but he's never been limited. I want anyone listening to explain that to me. I'll explain how it's possible, actually. It's not. It's not possible. It can't be made sense of, but I'll move past it. Let's concede.
Let me just say one thing on your availability report.
Please.
Lane was not suspended or fined when he didn't have Austin Simmons on the quote-unquote injury report. By rule, it's not an injury report, and why he didn't get fined, it's an availability report. So if you remember 3 weeks ago, Austin Simmons got hurt, and he wasn't on the injury report, and everyone's like, oh, okay, well, he's good to play. Well, he wasn't. But the SEC came out, and Lane was asked about this. It's not an injury report. It's an availability report and why he didn't get hit. I'm not trying to discredit what you're saying at all. However, the SEC kind of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Turned their tune.
It's a gray area a little bit.
There's a gray area. Austin Simmons then comes in against Arkansas in the red zone and then throws a touchdown. So I want to be careful on, this isn't like a CBA NFL mandate thing. This is more of, is he available to play thing. But however, I do understand what you're saying. I'm not trying to disagree with you, but the only thing that I would just point out is the whole Lane Kiffin issue with Austin Simmons.
Absolutely. I hear you. So I'll move on from that. And the second part of what I was gonna say is, say I concede that he is hurt.
Okay.
Then at that point, that doesn't make it any better. At that point, it's coaching malpractice by Brian Kelly. I'm imagining I'm a CEO of a company, and my company, we meat test. That's what we do. And I hire my first meat tester I hire is a vegetarian. What are we doing? That would make you a bad CEO. So that's what I don't understand about it. And the thing is, I'm giving a similar rant that I am now to someone today, and they have the gall to tell me, oh, look, just wait till this offseason when BK makes an offensive hire. I want to know how long I have to wait. 3 years ago, it was, oh, look, listen, BK, got to let him get the program going. Let him get all his coaches, his players. I waited. I didn't want to wait then, but I waited. Then we waste Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas Jr., and Malik Neighbors, studs in the NFL, completely waste them. The year after, we completely botched the year after too. And then after that, it's still, Nuss is about to be a vet. Nuss, 5th-year vet. Here we got our guys. The program's never been more built by Brian Kelly. Here we are again. And listen, they can tell me, everybody can say, wait again. I'm going to tell you what. We're going to wait 4 more years, and we're going to look back, and BK will be synonymous with James Franklin. There will be no difference between the BK tenure and James Franklin. But y'all can keep telling me to wait, I guess. And I also like the point you made earlier. Number 18, you're the leader of the team. If you can't play quarterback, you need to know that, and you need to sit down. Because I'll tell you what, we have teams with worse atmospheres, worse fan bases, less money, worse coaching. They don't have the stadium we have. They don't have the city culture we have. And they're putting up better. How the hell are we getting beat by a team out of Oxford? I'm going to try. I'm going to give you your show back, but I can't. This is one of the biggest abominations I've ever seen. And to anyone saying the season's not over, wait on. It's done, guys. It's so done.
Good job. Thanks for the phone call.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I pressed the wrong button. All right. Sorry to whoever that was calling. Mace says the lack of offensive identity and questionable play calling has me concerned about transfers and losing recruits, specifically at wide receiver. I don't disagree. At all, Mace. Thank you for the super chat, but that you bring up a very good point. All right, you're on the phone with Player Rufino. This is lsusports. Can you turn it down in the background, big dog? Hello.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, there we go. What'd you think?
Okay.
What are you thinking? Well, who do we have to talk to? What are you thinking?
Yeah, this is Jay Smacks from the 337.
What's up, Jay Smacks?
I'll be honest. I wanted to kind of give 2 little things. One of them you probably find funny because you play NCAA 26, as I've heard. But I feel as if BK is doing Garrett Nussmeier a disservice by basically ruining his NFL stock. And another thing is Garrett is doing it on his own, but it is on coaching because BK overall has the final say. But if Garrett Nussmeier is not playing up to the potential that we all know that he has, as we saw last year, yes, the interceptions were bad, but like you reported in fall practice, he didn't have as many picks. He looked better. Yep. But I think that overall, Brian Kelly needs to have a serious conversation with Garrett and say, listen, buddy, you're first of all, you're ruining your NFL stock. You're not playing like yourself. You're hurt. If he is hurt, then sit him and play a quarterback that has played in SEC. I don't understand. It's not like putting Michael Van Buren in the offense is going to do anything different. It's not like we can go score a touchdown or rush the ball without him. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to get worse. I just don't feel like it'll get worse.
Well, I mean, could it technically get worse? Yes. However, I don't know if it does, and you don't know until you try.
Right, 100%. And I mean, the thing is if you do put Michael Van Buren in, at least he gives you that aspect of running the football. You know what I mean? Like if you would have put Michael Van Buren against Ole Miss, kind of like the same thing that happened to us last year with Marcel Reed when we literally got their starting quarterback benched and then Marcel Reed came in and single-handedly beat us. I feel like that could have been something that we did in the Ole Miss game to give us the edge. But instead, BK, Sloan, and Garrett are so stubborn, and they're arguing with each other constantly throughout the game. You can literally see it on live television when he's flipping through the headset. So I think it's dysfunctional with all 3 of them on the offense right now. I don't know. It's just not good.
Yeah, I do think that there's some definitely misconnections between the 3 of them. I don't disagree. And listen, Brian Kelly went on with Feinbaum today and basically called out Sloan saying, why in the hell are you constantly throwing the ball with 8 people dropping? But at the same time, you're on the field just like he is, and you got to tell him to stop throwing the ball in those situations. So, look, I don't disagree. I'm with you. I'm with you. I want to see it. I want to see what happens. And if it falls flat on its face, at least we'll know.
Right. And I have one more thing, and then I'll let you go. So,
all right.
So obviously, I know that you've played NCAA 26, or at least touched it. You know, I don't know how much you play it, but
not often. But
I'm 23 years old. I just graduated college. I'm a high level NCAA player. I know defenses, I know offenses, schemes, all that kind of stuff. And consistently, when I'm watching this offense, I can literally call out the plays before they even happen. So if I'm doing that, then I'm pretty sure a defensive coach for a D1 school is going to be able to do that, which is why we're getting absolutely destroyed on offense. Another reason why. It's very predictable.
It is very predictable. I completely agree. I appreciate the phone call, Jason.
Thank you, Blake.
Thanks, man. All right, we'll take a couple more here before we get out of here. 225-435-9387. 225-435-9387 is the phone number to call. All right, you're on with Blake Ruffino. This is ayssports. Who do we have the pleasure of talking to?
Hey, this is John. What's up? What's up,
Blake, man?
How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
No, man, great. Well, kind of great. You know what I mean? I had a day to think about this whole debacle we was in. I actually went to the game, so.
All right. Well, what do you think? What do you think?
Well, I think for one, we didn't commit to the run game.
No,
like
we didn't.
That was atrocious. Like, I mean, if you tell me that we're going against the 100, and I don't care if they're in the hundreds, where the rush defense is concerned, which Ole Miss is, and we game plan away from that the entire game. The entire game we game plan away from it. Now we started running the football in the second half a little bit, but by then we're playing catch up. So they kind of in the offense to where they up 9, 24-13, in the fourth quarter. So yeah, hell, we could run the ball now. I mean, but what about the first half when we ran it only 3 times?
I think you ran it 8, but to your point, yes, you didn't run it enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you didn't.
You said we ran it 8 times in the first half?
Yeah, we ran it ball 8 times in the first half. I mean, listen, you had 3 runs from Xavier Thomas for 4 yards. You had Juwan Johnson, who had 2 carries for no yards. And then if you remember, you had a Beern end around that got you 9 right before the pick. So you had a couple of them in there. But to your point, like there was one Xavier Thomas run where he slipped and fell, and then you stopped running the football. So I think that this has been a problem even in last year. If one run doesn't work, they completely bail away from it. And they're scared to go back to it. And you can't be scared in the run game. You just can't be. And I got to be real with you too. Let me ask you this, or just anybody this. Did you see Keandre Miller yesterday for the Saints and how many tackles he broke at the line of scrimmage yesterday? You also got to have backs that are motherfuckers and will put their head down and run somebody over. And you don't have that right now. I'm sorry, but you don't. And that's on Frank. And you needed a portal running back this year, especially not knowing the status of Trey Holly, and you didn't go get it, and you moved a quarterback back over to running back. And Caleb Jackson, God bless his soul, he's not ready. He's not living up to any standard. So I don't know at this point. I don't know what else you do.
Well, and I totally agree with you. That's a great point, Blake, of especially a running back that could break tackles. But this is what I know for sure. Even with Miller from the Saints, like they believe in that guy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. At the end of the day, they believe in that guy. You have to trust your backs, and not committing to the running game showed those guys that you didn't really trust them.
No,
you didn't put enough trust in them and enough confidence in them to say, "Hey, go get us this. Like, go put it on your back and make it happen." We're gonna hand you the football, and we're gonna put the game partially in your hands. What you said was, we're gonna make you game managers at running back, and we're gonna trust in, our ability to throw the football. And then when we can't make it in the air, now we're gonna come to you. But at that point,
It's
I
too
mean,
late.
what a confidence at? You
Right.
know, it's too late,
too
and
late.
that's how I look at it. You know what I mean?
Well, like, let me give an example. I mean, Penn State came all the way back on Oregon, and they didn't stop running the football. And those
Right.
are two
That's
playoff teams. They didn't give a shit. They did not give a shit, and it constantly burned them. Jerm, thanks for the phone call, bud.
Thank you, man.
All right. I think I'm out of here. I appreciate everybody's phone calls. I appreciate everybody being tuned with us. Marcus says, I'm starting to question Brad Davis on this O-line. We haven't really run the ball since Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, you ran the ball pretty effectively in 2022. But I get what you're saying, and I agree. You have not run the ball consistently. You haven't had a 1,000-yard back. And Brad's, I mean, it's on the chopping block right now, man. It's on the chopping block. Abe says, how do you change the O-line right guard to keep Kern? I mean, you got to try everything, but right guard has been a problem. And nobody wants to admit it, but he's been a problem. And quite frankly, I don't know if it's going to get fixed. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a blessed night. Peace.